Okay, so welcome to our workshop on building better bibliographies with Zotero. My name is Steve Jameson. I'm the library director here at the Covenant Seminary Library. And today we're going to be talking about the software program Zotero, which you can use to track your research, insert citations into your paper, and build a bibliography at the end. So we'll cover a couple things today. First up, we're going to talk about how to install and set up Zotero to get the best use out of it. We'll talk about how to track and manage your sources within Zotero. That is how to add books and articles to your Zotero library as you're doing your research. And then we'll talk about how to use citations, use Zotero to add citations and a bibliography to your paper as you do your writing. So first we'll start off with installing Zotero. To do that, we're going to go to your web browser and go to zotero.org. And so this is where you can download the Zotero program. So I'll just click the download button. Now there are actually a couple things that you need to download and install to make use of Zotero. The first thing is the Zotero app. This is where you will do your tracking and managing of your research, and that'll store your Zotero library for use as you create citations. So you can just hit download on that, follow your computer's standard installation process to get the Zotero app. You'll also need to install the Zotero connector. This is an extension or add-on for your web browser that will allow you to automatically pull in resources into your Zotero library as you are using library databases or websites or anything along those lines. The other thing, while we're here, I'll note that you will most likely want to get registered for a Zotero account. You can do that right up here at the top of the screen. Hitting register and sign up for a Zotero account. That is a free account that gives you 300 megabytes of online storage to back up or sync your Zotero library. So it's always good to have a backup strategy for your information, and using a Zotero account is a simple way to keep a backup of your Zotero library in case anything should go, in case anything should happen to your laptop or computer. You'll be backed up into the cloud, as well as if you use multiple computers, you can use your Zotero account to sync your library between those computers. So no matter where you're working, you can pull resources into your Zotero library. So I've already downloaded Zotero and gotten everything set up on my computer here. So I'm going to jump ahead to setting up Zotero. So I already have some things in here. You know, your first launch, you'll see just a blank library in the Zotero app. But we're going to do go over some setup steps. So the first thing you want to do is go to your Zotero preferences. This will look a little bit different if you're using Windows, but I think it's under the edit menu. You hit edit preferences. And there are three different things I want to hit on here. The first one is to go to the sync tab. Here's where you'll sign into that Zotero account that you created on the Zotero website to set up syncing and backup. I'm already signed in. You'll see a login field there. You just pop in your username and password for Zotero, and that'll connect your Zotero app to your cloud library and keep everything synced and backed up. So you can see those checked off. Those will be checked off by default to enable syncing. The other thing you'll want to do is go to the Cite tab, and there are two things here. One is the citation styles. So this is setting up which citation styles Zotero has available for you to use when you cite in your paper. It comes with a bunch of them pre-installed. The ones you want to be looking out for are either Chicago Manual of Style 17th edition full note. You see there's a couple different ones here. You want to make sure that you have the full note version. That is the most useful here for the Covenant context. Then you also have, this one should be installed by default to Chicago. You can also install the Turabian 8th edition full note. And to install a citation style, you just hit get additional styles. So this is their searchable online directory of citation styles. So Turabian is not included by default, but you can install it, just click on it, and that'll bring that into your style collection. And then, of course, we also use APA, American Psychological Association 7th edition here at Covenant for our counseling classes. And so that is also available for you there. Once you have the citation styles that you want, you also want to pop over to the word processors tab, because this is where you can install or reinstall the add-ons for your word processing software. So it supports Microsoft Word and LibreOffice. I've already got it installed, so it says reinstall, but otherwise, first time you launch this, it'll say install Microsoft Word add-in. You just click that button, and as long as everything goes well, it'll install that add-on into Microsoft Word. If you have any trouble with that, there is some troubleshooting steps online. Feel free to give me an email. I can help point you in the direction of some troubleshooting resources if you have trouble with that process. But anyway, with that, Zotero should be pretty much all set up. You've got your information syncing to the cloud, so it's backed up. You have your citation styles and your word processor integration all ready to go. So let's find some resources. So I'm going to pop over to my web browser. I'm using Firefox. I should note on the installation process, if you are a Mac user and you are using Safari, for the most recent versions, Safari has not been compatible with the Zotero connector. That's something that they're working on. You can see their little write-up and explanation here. Hopefully, with the macOS Monterey release that just came out, they're hopeful that they will get this fully operational and ready for production. Otherwise, they have a beta version you can install if you really want to use Safari. Otherwise, probably the easiest thing is just to install either Chrome or Firefox and use the Zotero connector in there. Just do your research in a browser other than Safari, and you should be good to go. But otherwise, once you have the Zotero add-on in your browser, you'll see a Zotero button up here in your toolbar. And this is the little magic button that you can click to pull anything into your Zotero library. So let's take a look at some examples. So first up, I have a book from our catalog, Far as the Curse is Found by Michael Williams. So I'm here on the catalog page for this resource, and you can see that my Zotero button looks like a book. So it is recognizing that this is a book in a library catalog, and so it's ready to import it. You do need to make sure you have the Zotero app running in the background, and then you go here and click that little book icon, and it's going to save that into my library. Now, before that disappears, I can select a folder in my library. You can create different folders to help organize your research. And whichever folder you have selected in Zotero is the default folder that that'll save items to. Otherwise, you can click on this drop down and select any of your other folders. So that's pulled that in. So let's take a look what that looks like. So go over to my Zotero library, and let's sort this by, like, get the new ones at the top. And there's my book. There's Far as the Curse is Found right there in my library. It's pulled in all the information there. The thing I really press on about using Zotero is that you really have to double check the information that you pull into your Zotero library. The quality of the citations that you get out of Zotero is entirely dependent on the quality of the data that you've pulled into your Zotero library. So if you have bad data in your Zotero library, you're going to get bad citations out of it into your word processor. So it's always important to give this a quick double check to see what it pulled in and make sure that everything looks good. Now, you don't have to worry about like title case in the title. Zotero will take care of that for you. But you do want to pay attention to some of the punctuation and the spacing around the punctuation, and particularly like dates and numbers of volumes and pages and that sort of thing. And on this one, for example, we know that, for example, that Turabian likes to have states represented as postal abbreviations. So you can see that this pulled in from the catalog the full state name New Jersey. So I just want to change that to NJ. But otherwise, this all looks good. The title, the author, now we fixed the place, the publisher, the date, that all looks fine. So let's go back to my browser and we'll pull in another one. So let's pull in one more book. We'll grab a commentary this time, Gordon Wenham's commentary on Genesis in the Word Biblical Commentary series. Again, I'll click my Zotero button there. It's saving that into my library. See, it pulled the book. It pulled in a note. So there's a note field on the record that shows the two volumes, a contents note. So it has pulled that in for you as well. So we take a look at that. You can see there's the notes there, the notes tab. And you can add your own notes as you go if you want to do that as well. So a couple of things I want to clean up here. So this is kind of weird with the series numbering. Now on commentaries, we don't really need to keep the series number. So just for the sake of cleanliness, I'm just going to knock those out. That's not too important. Then let's go down to the publisher here. So we got Waco, Texas, and Dallas, Texas was pulled into the publisher field there. We only need the first publisher place. So we'll get rid of the second one there and clean that up. So now we just have the publisher name in the publisher field, and we just have the one place in the place field. And we already have the appropriate abbreviation for Texas, so we're good to go there. And then this is kind of weird down here, number of pages 2. So that is actually that's the number of volumes. So I want to take that and move that up to the number of volumes field. And with all that, this looks pretty good, and we should be good to go on that one. So now we'll mix it up a little bit and we'll take a look at a journal article. So I'm going into the Atlo Religion database, and I found an article on Ephesians 5:18 by Rowan Jack Collins. And I want to pull this into my Zotero library. So now you'll notice that my Zotero button looks a little bit different. It looks like a sheet of paper, an article. So that's recognizing that this is an article database. And this is a journal article. So I'm going to click that, saving that into my folder. And you can see it's also grabbing not just the citation information, but it recognizes that there is a PDF attached to this record. So it's going ahead and downloading that full text PDF of the journal article and adding that to my Zotero library as well. So when I get in here, you can see that I have all the data about the article. And then if I click that little disclosure triangle there, you can see it has attached the PDF of the article there. So this is a great way to help manage and track your research and all those PDFs you download and read, rather than sticking them off in a folder somewhere on your hard drive and having to worry about organizing them in some way. Zotero can handle those and organize them for you. So it'll be right here, all those PDFs attached to the record in Zotero, so it can be easy to find. And if you need to find anything, it has the universal search. You can search all through your library, quickly pull up that article that you want to go back to and open it. And you can indeed just double click on that PDF, and that'll open in your default PDF reader on your computer. So this could be a Preview on a Mac or Adobe Acrobat on your Windows PC if you have that installed. And then you can make use of any of the built-in annotation tools that your PDF reader has. So if you want to, for example, highlight some text, I can highlight, put in a note or something. So I can put on a note, move that wherever I want. And that'll just get saved back to my Zotero library and synced back up to the server. And then when I come back and open that again, all my notes are right there where I saved them. So let's go back to the metadata for this article. And there's a couple of cleanup things I need to do here. For example, in the author field, I'm missing that period in front of C there for C. John Collins. So I'll fix that. And the other thing I'll note is down here is the short title. So when Zotero does a subsequent citation after the first time you've cited something, it will use the shortened form of the title. And you can specify in the short title field whatever you want that to be. In this case, by default, it just takes the title up to the first colon and uses that as the short title. So it just grabs the main title. But in this case, since it had that colon for the verse reference, it dropped off a little bit of extra information there. So I'm just going to put that back in there, Ephesians 5:18. I'm going to use that as my short title. But for other things, as far as the curse is found, Covenant Story of Redemption, you can see that it dropped off the subtitle to use just the main title as a short title. If you have a really long main title and you want to shorten it down to just a couple words, this would be the field where you would do that. You can put in whatever you would like to use in that field. Let's grab one more interesting example here. So I'm going to do find another item in the Atlas Religion database, but this time, this is an essay in a book. So this isn't a journal article. This is a chapter published in a book, an essay. You can see, book, and then, publication type essay. It's a certain page numbers within that book. And we can pull those in as well. So I'm going to go up here and let that load. So it's recognizing that that is a section, kind of an article type thing. So we'll pull that into my library. You can see it's recognizing that as a essay within a book. It's got the open book icon there. It's not going to find any full text to attach to it. So let's go in, and so we have all that information there. It recognized that item type is book section. And you can see all the different types of items you can track in Zotero. And it'll do its best to try and identify what is what. But if you need to tell it, be more specific, you can if it gets it wrong. So it pulled in a bunch of authors here. There's some things we need to fix up. We need to put in some periods here for the initials. So we'll just do that real quick. Let's see, here we got Edward W. Klink III. So we'll actually put a comma in there to handle that, that third designation there. And that should be good as well. Let's see, we missed the publisher. Let's take a look at that. Actually, let's, while we're here, since I may want to just pull the entire book into my Zotero library, let me pop over to the Covenant catalog here, see if we have it, and we do. So I'll pull up the book record. I'll go ahead and pull that information in as well. And see what we have here. So this is Baker Academic. So we'll just copy that over into the publisher field. Grand Rapids, we need to put the Michigan on that, MI. And anything else? And then the other thing we could do is add the editors. So Hayes, Christopher M. So we can add a person. We're going to select their role as editor. That was Hayes. Autofill that. Yeah, work for me there. Christopher M. Then we need one more. Who's the other one? Ansberry, Christopher B. So there we go. So now we have the book editors on that record as well, and so that Zotero can make use of those when it makes its citation. So we got the state, we got the publisher, we got the editors, and we fixed the author names. So that's looking pretty good there. And we can make similar adjustments over here on the full book record. Fix that. Otherwise, I think we're pretty good. So last one, let's go over to, this is an EJournal article. So this is an article by Nelson Jennings, published in International Bulletin of Mission Research, or Missionary Research, I think, at the time of its publication. And this is an EJournal that we have available through the Covenant Library. So again, even here, it's recognizing that this is a Sage journal. It knows how to import those, so I can pull those and that into my library. It's downloading the full text PDF again and dumping that into my library right there. And I think the only thing I need to fix here is the issue date. So it has the exact date that it was published online. Of course, if we go and actually I could do that in my library, couldn't I? So I can pop open the PDF there. And you can see that the actual issue date on the item is just July 2014, not a particular day in July. So that's just something I may want to just clean up in my library there. Just change that to July 2014, and there we go. So I've imported a number of items into my library. We've pulled in PDFs and used Zotero to track those and organize them for me. And there's lots of other things we could get into in terms of creating subfolders, doing tags, lots of different options, note-taking that you have features in Zotero to help you as you do your research. And I'll encourage you to check out the Zotero website. And if you hit the link at the top here for documentation, they have lots of help documentation that walks you through all the features of Zotero. So if you want to dive deeper into using Zotero to help track and manage your research, you can find more information here on how to use those different features. Question here, can the web extension tool cite a web page? Yes, it can. That's a great question. So we'll just grab a news article here. And once it loads, we'll let the Zotero extension pick up what's going on here. So it is recognizing this as something or another. So we'll pull this web page in. So it's pulling in the information about the web page, and then it is saving a snapshot of the web page. So again, so it's saving item type web page. It's pulled in, the title, author. Again, you may have to, tweak this. Looks like that needs some cleanup. And it's tried to fill in all the information it can. And then it saves a snapshot of the web page so that you can always pull up a archived copy of the web page. So if it disappears sometime later or gets modified or changed, you always have a copy of the original that you were looking at when you saved it for your records. And so you can refer back to that in case of any deletions or changes. Okay, so now I want to talk about the final stage, and that's actually citing. So I have a Word document here, ignore the fake Latin text. And when you install the Zotero add-on for your word processor, so for Microsoft Word, you can see there's now a Zotero menu that shows up in your word processor. And this is where you'll interact with Zotero from as you write your paper. Again, you want to have a Zotero running in the background so that the Zotero add-on can communicate with the main app. Now, the first thing you want to do is when you get in here, set up your document preferences. So hit the document preferences button, and this is where you're going to choose which citation style Zotero is going to use for this paper. So you can choose Turabian 8th or Chicago Manual of Style, 17th edition, full note. They're pretty much the same. Again, the Turabian is based on Chicago, so you get very similar citations. The only, if I recall correctly, the only main difference is that when you do subsequent citations, the Turabian citation style will give you IBIDs. So it'll say, IBID, page, 36 or whatever. Chicago Manual Style 17th follows the kind of growing practice of not using IBIDs, but using shortened citations for subsequent citations. And so it'll give you, author, title, page number, and it'll not use the, abbreviation IBID. So I prefer to use Chicago Manual Style 17th, so I'll set that up for this document. And that's the main thing you need to do in there. The other thing I'll point out in here is sometimes, if you are working on a really, really long paper, like dissertation length and a long one at that, sometimes as you're using Zotero, if it has to kind of update citations frequently, it can slow things down. And so you can uncheck automatically update citations if you notice that Zotero is getting sluggish due to the sheer number of citations in your document. And then you just have to manually refresh your data. But otherwise, you can leave that checked. And for most smaller papers or most dissertations even, it should be fine just to leave Zotero automatically updating your citations as you go. So we've got our document preferences set up. So let's add our first citation. So we're just going to put the cursor right where I need to put my citation. I've got a quote, I've got a paraphrase, I've got I'm referring to something in some way that I need to cite. So I put the cursor where I want the citation to appear, then I hit the Add Edit Citation button. So that brings up the little Zotero search bar here, and I'm going to pull in as far as the cursor is found. So you can put that in. If I need to cite multiple things, I can just type the next one and add that. But I'm just going to do one citation. And then if I click on it, it'll allow me to fill out other information such as the page number. So if I need to cite page 36, I can put that in there, hit return when I'm all done, and that'll fill out my citation. So let me go down to the bottom of my page, and there's my footnote. So pulled in all the information from my Zotero library and filled out my citation completely. So let me put another one in. So let me do that. Collins, Ephesians. And we'll cite page 21 in there. And again, that handles that, knows it's a journal article, so it does all the appropriate journal article formatting for my citation. Now let me go back to cite Williams again. So it's preferencing giving me a shortcut to things I've already cited. Those are top of the list right there. And we'll cite page 98 this time. And so you can see, since I've already cited it once in full, it is doing the shortened citation. It's just giving me author, the short title, and the page number right there. And if I cite the exact same page over again, it handles that very naturally. So let me add a couple more things just to build up my bibliography a little bit. Pull in that Jennings article. And we'll put that in. So you can see it's pulling in the URL for web resources. And now I have a number of things cited in my paper. So let me add my bibliography. So I'll scroll down to the end. I've got a space for my bibliography here. And let's see, before I do that, we have a question. If you were to move the location of citation number 3, so right here, would it update or 4, good point, would it update the short citation format? And so yeah, it should do that. So let me go ahead and put in an intervening citation there. So we'll add a new citation and we'll pop the Jennings article in there. And so you can see again, so that this is where it's doing that automatically update citation. So anytime you add or modify a citation, it's updating everything to reflect its current position. So it's added the title in there for clarity. So it's still doing a shortened citation since it's already been cited once in full, but it's not doing the short citation. It's doing the standard shortened citation there since there's an intervening citation in between. And then since we inserted a earlier new first citation for Jennings, it changed the old one to the shortened citation form. Okay, so let's go back to the bibliography now and add that. So I'm going to put my cursor wherever I want my bibliography to appear. And you can see that there's an Add Edit Bibliography button. So we'll click that. There we go. So it's put in my bibliography there. So I may just need to tweak the spacing on that a little bit. Yep, bibliography style here. So we'll edit the style to add some space between the paragraphs. Paragraph spacing, put one line, so 12 points between each item. Update that. And there we go. Now my bibliography looks good. Okay, another question. Once the document is closed, if you reopen it without Zotero being open, will things happen to your citations? So without Zotero running in the background, it will not be able to get any updates. You can, so if you do like make any changes in your Zotero library, you edit any of the metadata for any of the items you've added in, it may try and do an update when you first open it, but you can always force an update by clicking the refresh button. So you click this button and it'll just take everything, and this is if you turn off automatic updates, you can hit the refresh button to force an update. And so this will phone home to Zotero and pull in all the latest data for all your citations. So let's take a look at that, for example. So, so I noticed like this one here, this essay. So you can see it includes the URL here from the EBSCOhost database, from Atlas Religion database. Now, since we did not actually access this item online, this is an essay in a print book, I would not want to have this URL there. And even if it was like a journal article from a database or something like that, rather than having the URL, I would want to put in the name of the database instead of the URL. So let's update this. So let's go to Zotero and let's find this one here. So yeah, so we have the URL here. Now I may want to save this. So I don't want it to appear in my citation, but I may want to keep that around. So I can add an attachment here. I can go to a little paperclip icon and attach a URI, or URL. So I can put that link in there, and that'll add an attachment. So I still have that link. So if I need to go back to that item in the database, I can still get back there, but it's not in the metadata for the article itself, so it won't show up in my citations or bibliography. Okay, so clarification on the earlier question. Once the document is closed and say sent to someone else, do the citations remain intact, even though the link with Zotero is broken? So yes, so it kind of saves, so there's coding underneath what you see in the text there that provides the link to Zotero, but that text is saved in your document. So if you send it to someone who doesn't have Zotero, they will see the kind of that last version where you last saved it. You'll see that text. So if I emailed this document to you, you would see exactly what you see here on the screen. Now that raises a good point. So whenever you are, if you see something that does need to be edited in your document in terms of your citation, so like I was doing here where I say, okay, I don't want this URL here. What I do not want to do is just select this text and delete it here, because it still has those hooks in the background with Zotero. So next time I update my library, it'll overwrite any changes that I've made. So if you see a misspelling or something that needs to be edited, you have to edit the data in Zotero and then refresh your document. So I made a change. In fact, if I try and delete this, nope, it let me do it. I thought it would, maybe it's in the citations. I thought it gave you a warning, actually. Let me select some text here. Nope. Okay, but anyway, I thought I've seen in the past, if you try and edit a citation inline, it gives you some sort of warning, but maybe not always. So you edit the data in Zotero rather than in your document, then you click refresh. So now it's gone out and pulled the latest data, or it should have pulled the latest data in. There we go. There, I had to make a round trip there. So you can see now, since I've deleted that URL, that web address from Zotero, I refresh and it is gone from my citation and my bibliography as well. So that's how you would do your edits. The last thing, again, and this goes back to that, again, to that question of sending the document to someone else. When you are all done with your document, you can unlink from Zotero. So just kind of pull all the coding under the hood out and just leave the text of your citations there. So this is a good final step for if you are sending your document to an editor, or if you're turning it in Microsoft Word format for some reason rather than as a PDF. It's nice just to go ahead and unlink those citations. And so you can see that button right here. Now, this is an irreversible process. Once you click that button, there is no going back, and there's no good way to reconnect your citations to Zotero. So my recommendation would be is to, first save a backup copy of your document, with those citation linkages to Zotero intact. So maybe even just, okay, you got your draft, you think you're all done, you're ready to turn it in, save a new copy, duplicate your document, and then unlink your citations in there. So that way, if you do have to go back for any reason, you still have your original document still connected to Zotero. So I'm just going to save this out. Zotero final, click through here, unlink citations. Removing field codes will prevent Zotero from updating. Yep. Okay, so I'll strip all those out. And now when I go there, you can see it doesn't highlight them in gray anymore. This is just standard text. And this is also handy if you do have a odd citation situation within Zotero that Zotero doesn't quite handle properly. You can just make a note about it, and then at the very end, after you unlink your citations, you can go in and adjust that citation however you want, and then you can just edit the text directly. So that would be in the case of some very unusual citation situation that Zotero doesn't quite get right. And then comment in the chat, yeah, so when you have the Zotero extension in your web browser, that will also give you the Zotero menu when you're using Google Docs. So if you are working in Google Docs, I think that's one of the newer features where the Zotero extension enables Zotero integration for Google Docs.